What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Hopefully you had a good weekend overall. Got a chance to get out or play some games. Had a chance to play some games myself. And then, of course, did the Spawn cast. And then a few other videos, including the MPD numbers, that were kind of brought out to a degree. And then we also took a look at the Switch with the emulator that's currently in development. But there was a lot of stuff other than that that happened over the weekend, including Sega teasing some mystery project. And the Duke controller did get, well, a release window at least, a little bit. And they picked the right person, I think, to introduce that. So let's get started. So a few days ago, Sega tweeted out a picture of a light bulb. I don't really know why. No one really knows why, but it was accompanied with the date of January 16th. Now, this is a standard marketing tactic we've seen a lot, where a random tweet that has no explanation or even some kind of PR statement will go out hyping up a certain date. Now, what is happening here, we don't know, but it's very interesting to see that it's a light bulb that could signify something like an idea, for example, right? That's a possibility. Now, what direction would they be going in? I'm not sure, and that's actually the fun part here, because I'm sure you guys will let me know down in the comments. Are they maybe talking about a new game? Maybe a game coming back? A remaster? Are they introducing a new IP? Are they talking about new hardware? Not necessarily a brand new system or anything. It's not like that would just be tweeted about a mystery project, then, come out a few days later or something. Although it could be like a classic system, maybe a better version of the AT Games type hardware. I mean, they are technically working with different companies right now, specifically Retrobit with their different hardware, but I'm thinking more along the lines of a game of some kind. I mean, it's a light bulb signifying an idea. Maybe they had an idea to go back and get an old game, and of course that sparked a ton of interest with people trying to they're just guessing everything at this point, right? Is it something to do with Shenmue? Probably not. Is it something to do with, say, I don't know, they could be talking about people. I saw some people saying Shining Force. That one went around a lot, actually. Shining Force was everywhere. I saw that one quite a bit. And then Panzer Dragoon. There's so many things that it could be. But at this point, it's all guessing until at least tomorrow, when I'm sure that they will put something out on Twitter saying, hey, we're definitely coming out with something, and this is what it is. It's some kind of game. Maybe it's a piece of hardware. Hard to say. My big thing that I am really hoping, and I hope this is actually happening, they had the bright idea to actually bring over Phantasy Star Online 2. I know it's a dream. It really is. But hey, let me dream for a minute here, right? Maybe they come out and they say, hey, Phantasy Star Online 2, it's absolutely coming over. You can get it on all systems. You can get it on PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch, and you can get it in a month. You can start downloading and playing it. It's free to play. That would be amazing. I don't know if they still remember Phantasy Star Online 2, to be honest, after shutting down not the fan site, even the official site. But hey, you never know. Anything's on the table at this point, guys. Let me know what you think it is. Now, we talked about the Duke controller. Remember the original Xbox Duke controller? It was this big controller. It got made fun of a lot back in the day. I remember magazines that came out at the time when the original Xbox was coming out, or it just came out and they were reviewing it. They had pictures of people with like warped hands, so they were massive, because this thing was basically like holding like a cheeseburger, like a double patty cheeseburger. People were making that reference as well. Well, at least to a degree, people remember it fondly, to the point where they're going to be remaking a nostalgic version, I guess you'd say, the Duke controller. We talked about it a while ago, months ago. We talked about it actually last year, I think near the beginning of last year, somewhere in there. We did talk about it, and remember it had the screen where the jewel was, and it was this really cool looking startup animation. No information about that either until now. At CES, CNET did report on this, talked about a release date of some kind was coming, and then they had a person from the original Xbox team, Seamus Blackley, tweet out that it's coming out end of March. It's going to be $70, and overall it's mostly for the nostalgic fan of Xbox, right? Somebody who remembers Xbox when it first came out. Maybe you liked that controller. A lot of people didn't. I actually was all right with it. I was fine with it. A lot of people didn't, because it was too bulky. I didn't really have a problem with it, although I will say the S-Type that came out later was much preferred, the smaller S-Type, I think anyway. Maybe other people liked the bigger one more. It was definitely more suited for larger hands, I will say that. But this is definitely a ploy to get people back into the original Xbox games. Maybe you get an OG Xbox game, pop it in your Xbox One, plug this controller in, that is wired, by the way, plugs in, and then you're using an original Xbox controller with the game. But what's really cool is that screen on the front is an OLED display. It does the entire startup animation, and it might even be used for other things in the future. I really like that idea that actually being a screen, although I do wonder how much that kicked up the price. Could they have got it to $50 if it didn't use that screen? Maybe. I'm not sure what that OLED screen would cost them, but I'm sure it's at least making the price higher. But let me know if you guys are buying into the Duke controller. I feel like some people will, but the vast majority probably won't, to be honest, just because the Sea of Thieves controller will have been out like a month prior, and that looks like the controller to get. Next up, let's talk about Super Meat Boy. It did release on the Nintendo Switch, and believe it or not, it sold well. I guess that's probably easy to believe. It's a really fun game. If you've never played it, it's very hard, but it's an awesome platformer. You're going to die a lot in it, but it's a good time. I loved playing it when it first came out back in 2010, and apparently a lot of people still like it because the developers themselves were absolutely shocked at how well it sold on the Nintendo Switch. Generally, when you bring these games over to different platforms that have been on a ton of systems prior, you have very tempered expectations for the sales. You're not expecting massive sales, but it sounds like that's what they may have received here, because according to developers, it came shockingly close to the 360 first day sales of Super Meat Boy, which is absolutely insane. They put this out on Twitter even, saying, like, showing a picture of people staring at the computer in disbelief at the Super Meat Boy sales on the Switch. And it's becoming clear, I've said it before, the Switch is a great machine to go to if you're an indie developer. The hardware is set up perfectly at this point for anyone who wants to develop for games, specifically smaller ones. They're using something like Unity, right? And it works really well for that, and it is the machine, the Switch is, that is pretty much able to play most indie games without too much issue. Something like Super Meat Boy is right at home on the Switch, as we see here, but then we've also seen other indie games like Death Squared, for example, that have come out and said it's done really well, right? And it's good to see that, because that means that it will continue to get a lot of indie support, because now indie developers are looking at each other like, this system is very good for us, because we don't get buried like we do in Steam. But it's great to see Super Meat Boy do really well. And then, of course, we got Super Meat Boy Forever coming out soon as well. I think that'll do extremely well because it's a timed exclusive on the Switch. And now a lot of Switch owners, maybe who miss Super Meat Boy, have tried it. And now they're ready to buy into this thing. And it might, honestly, at this point, from what we're seeing, it might sell the best on the Switch, which is a big deal for a lot of the Switch fan bases that are waiting for some of these games. As we go forward and the Switch really, the install base grows, you're going to start seeing the Switch start to outsell Xbox One releases and PS4 releases on the same day. Next up, let's talk about Dragon Ball FighterZ. It's a game I've been very excited for. It looks great. It looks very close, shockingly close, I guess if I could use that word from the Super Meat Boy developers, shockingly close to the anime itself. It's a game that I and many other people have been waiting for Dragon Ball Z, because it's never been taken seriously as a fighting game. It's mostly been that fun, really arcadey type experience, not one that you sit down and try to master and that enters like Evo tournaments or anything. But Dragon Ball FighterZ looks to be that game. But as we get closer and closer to release, some things are starting to really kind of come out here, and it's not making it look great right now. Specifically, the first thing being the beta, the beta that is happening, and they've extended it some, it looks like, due to technical issues, and it doesn't look good. Do you guys remember I tried to play it? Man, a while ago. They had a beta a long time ago on the Xbox One, and I believe it was on the PS4. I got into the Xbox One beta, but if you guys remember that stream, I had the hardest time playing anything. I think I played one game in the hour I was on. It was bad. Like, it was very unstable. You were getting kicked out left and right. Things were lagging completely, and it was just timing out constantly. Well, that's still happening to a lot of people, to the point where everyone on Twitter is complaining about it. They've been like issuing formal apologies. We're so close to this release. I have no idea how these servers could still be in this shape, unless all of a sudden release day they're going to flip a switch and there's going to be like, double the amount of servers or something, or maybe they're just stressing their net code to the point of like pure stress. I don't know, like, what's going on here, because it doesn't look good. It's not making myself or several others have any kind of confidence in this game. And that's the worry right now, because a lot of people are going to buy this game and want to play online. I'm kind of more interested in the story, to be honest, so I'm not really a competitive fighter either. I really just want to play the story because it looks to be really interesting, because it's going to be original. But my experience with the beta so far and several others has not been good. So you guys are going to let me know what your experiences are, and has this kind of shaken your confidence in how this game is going to be when it comes out. Now, the second thing appears to be that they will be using Denuvo. Now, if you're not sure what Denuvo is, it's like this DRM that they seem to be putting on a lot of games for PC, because a lot of developers, of course, are worried about piracy day one. It is a real thing on the PC. If you have none, it's hard to trust people not to actually buy your game when they can just go download it on questionable, I guess, sites that provide torrents for this stuff, right? So they get a DRM that, even if it only lasts the first week, that is enough sales to make it worth it. However, Denuvo has been found to be cracked in some cases the first day, and it's out. That's it. They do have to pay some money to this. So what happened here, which is very interesting, because there's people who data mine essentially, and what they did was they went through the Steam database. This was reported by the Outer Haven, where they talk about gamers or people who usually data mine go through the Steam database. So what do they find when they're going through the Steam database? They find an app ID by the number of 678950. So what does that mean? Well, you go down the Steam store page, and they have all of these different codes that are set up specifically for something like the EULA, for example, right? That goes through all of the different parts of like the game and what is included, kind of like the end user agreement most people just skip right past. Well, the app ID 678950, that technically is defined as, this game is protected by Denuvo anti-tamper technology, or anti-tamper technology. By installing this game, you acknowledge and consent that certain files of the anti-tamper technology may remain even after the game is uninstalled from your computer. For more information, please visit Denuvo's website. And while this isn't a complete confirmation yet, because it will be completely confirmed when we actually get the game from Steam, when we download it, and then, oh, there's Denuvo ready to go. That would not be good, because we've seen a lot of issues crop up when this DRM is used. We saw it most recently in Rime, and it was bad. It was calling CPU really calls constantly, and it slowed it down, and it was not the best experience on PC. But then they remove it, and all of a sudden the CPU workload goes down heavily. So this is a concern for a lot of people who want this clean experience with something like Dragon Ball FighterZ, because the system requirements right now are low. But if you kind of add in something like Denuvo, you might not get the frame rate you want. It's a fighter. You don't want these frame rates to be kind of all over the place at times, right? You need that 60, which means you really need like 80 and then cap it at 60 so that even if it drops to like 70 something, you won't actually notice it. That is the issue, and that's the concern. Hopefully it's not that bad, and it's maybe gets removed even after fans have some outcry about it, because most people want to buy this game to play online, right? That's the thing. A lot of people do, especially if you're buying it on Steam, for example. You're probably playing online. So I don't know how much this Denuvo DRM is actually needed for this game, but let me know what you guys think about this down below. In our last bit of news, we've talked about Nintendo, specifically with them more being on the side of innovation rather than following whatever the market is apparently deeming as normal or standard. Generally, that is things like VR is starting to become, I guess people would see it as standard. 4K is definitely something people are seeing as standard now. I mean, the mid-gen refreshes show that it's at least to the point where it's kind of standard. I think broadcast TV is really going to define that as standard whenever that decides to actually happen. But still, Nintendo generally sets their own path and follows it. They don't really follow the path of the competition. We've seen it forever, and it still continues to this day. In fact, in a French publication, the France Nintendo marketing director, Philippe Laveau, was asked specifically about following that path, but they decided instead to follow another, saying, "If you look at VR headsets, I doubt they can appeal to the mainstream. Consumers are not patient with entertainment if you're not able to deliver an all-inclusive package. As far as 4K is concerned, is it useful to invest in a technology that has not been adopted by the majority? Where are 4K TVs now? Is it a good idea to invest in technology before consumers do? We can't invest in everything, and what novelty would we bring compared to our competitors? If we do the exact same thing than everyone else, we're bound to die because we are smaller than them. With the Switch, we offer different uses adapted to players' pace of life. Its advantage is being able to fit into your daily life." So VR, I completely understand, and I get that, because not even Microsoft is pursuing VR with their all-powerful Xbox One X, right? They're not. I think they're leaving that to the next generation when they have their mixed reality stuff kind of out of what I call its beta stage, by having people really test it for them after giving them $400 or whatnot. But I don't think they're as interested in it as Sony is right now. Sony is really trying to pave the way here with VR completely. Like, they sell the most VR headsets with the Sony PlayStation VR, and that's mostly because you don't have to build a computer or figure everything out. For the most part, if you have a PlayStation 4, you can go buy a PlayStation VR and use it without having to worry too much. Things, drivers, syncing everything up isn't too bad with it, so it's not too bad. I understand why Nintendo isn't interested, because I completely get what they're saying here, though. They're saying if it's not an all-inclusive package, people don't want to work with it. They want to set it up, and that makes sense. The PlayStation VR has sold 2 million, I think, of those to a 70 million install base. So yeah, people don't want to hook up wires, and it really is a pain, to be honest with you guys, to hook that thing up. I get it. If it's an all-inclusive one, yes, that makes sense. I believe Facebook is coming out with one, and it looks good. It's wireless, it's one piece, that's it. It makes a lot of sense. But the 4K part is interesting to me, and this is where I think there's going to be a lot of conversation, because should 4K be considered for Nintendo? Yes, I think they are at least looking at it in the background, but 4K TV and adoption rate is going up, but it's not standard yet. It's not the point where you walk in every household and look, there's a 4K TV, but you do walk in every household and see at least a flat screen. So when we're to the point in about 4 or 5 years where you walk into a room and there's a 4K TV set in everyone's room, which it will happen eventually, then that's when you should be really striking at that point. That's when you should come out with a system that has that capabilities. I think they will go for that eventually, but they can. He says they're smaller than them. They are to a degree, right? Microsoft is massive. Sony struggles, but they do have a lot more avenues than Nintendo does when it comes to like Sony doesn't just make game consoles, right? They have a lot of stuff. Are they good? That's a topic for another video. How really popular, how much money they make. Not a ton, but still, I get what Nintendo's saying. This is it. Their gaming stuff is their biggest thing, alongside, obviously, things like cell phones, marketing, and all that stuff. This is what people know them for, is video games, really. So I get what they're saying, but they should at least look into it more going forward. However, maybe you're on the different side of the fence here. Maybe you're like, portable aspect, great. 4K can wait. Sure. You know what? I've been looking at 4K TVs, so I can at least understand that the adoption rate isn't quite there yet. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for Newswave today. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. Really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Let me know about any of the stuff we talked about today down in the comments section, whether it's Nintendo in 4K, Nintendo in VR. Maybe you're looking at that Duke controller, which looks really cool. And then definitely let me know what you think that Sega is teasing. We're going to find out tomorrow, so it'd be really funny if somebody was able to actually guess what they're teasing here. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.